Hello, welcome to the third section of the course, Managing Blog Posts. So far we've learned the basics of Django models and views, which has helped us create blog posts and play around with them. In this section, we will do more useful things with our blog posts, like creating and editing them. But first up, in this video, we will learn about Django Templates. Django Templates are HTML files that help us in reusing code. They also help us in dynamic generation of HTML. This removes cumbersome and repetitive processes around writing front-end code. To start working with Django Templates, we would first need to take a look at our settings.py file. In the settings.py file, there's a list called templates. As part of the template setting, we want to set the value of dirs to the following. Here base dir is a setting defined in this file itself. The base dir points to the base directory of the project. You can verify this by running the Django shell, importing the settings module, and inspecting the settings.basedir variable. And you can see that it refers to the root of the project. In this setting, we are telling Django that the directory where all the templates of the project would be stored would be under the folder called templates, which would be present at the root of our project. So now let's create a folder called templates. Now if you recall from the previous section, our app is called blog. And to keep our templates organized, we will create a folder called blog under the directory templates. And now let's take a look at blog post detail view in the views.py file. As you can see, at the moment we are creating an HTML content by hand. But this is not the greatest approach to follow. Thus, now we will send the dataset that we want to be displayed and write HTML code in HTML files. This is where Django templates come in. The first step is to change the base class of our blog post detail view to template view. Before saving the file, we should also import the template view class into our views.py file. The one requirement of template views is that they need to have the attribute template_name defined. Here we've set it to blog/detail.html. And Django will look for this detail.html file under the blog directory that we've just created under the templates directory. So let's create a file called detail.html and our templates directory should look like this. Now let's open the detail.html file and write hello world in it. We should save the file now. And now let's come back to the views.py file and we'll replace the return statement with the following. Here render_to_response is a method of the template view class and it takes an argument which is a dictionary. It is also known as context. For now, however, we will just pass an empty dictionary to satisfy the function method's definition. Now let's save this file, start our server, and visit the following link. Now we can see that hello world is being displayed instead of the contents of the post. This is because the contents of the detail.html file are hard-coded to contain hello world string. So let's make this more meaningful now. Let us replace this block of code by the following. Here we are creating a Python dictionary that contains the title author body of the post. We will also return this as part of the response instead of an empty dictionary. And now let's save the file. Let us also replace the contents of detail.html by the following. Here, the double braces around the variables title, author and body indicate that they are context variables. This is part of the Django template syntax. Let's save the file and go back to the browser. And on refreshing the page, we will notice that the content of the post has been rendered. And now let's make this detail.html file into a proper HTML file with HTML tags. Here we are using the Foundation Frontend framework for the CSS, and we've wrapped our content in some HTML tags to make them look better and nicer. So now let's come back to the browser and refresh the page, and this looks much better than the plain text content that we saw earlier. Now in our blog post, we will naturally have some common sections. For example, this toolbar at the top of our page. This is added by the following snippet of code. Now we wouldn't want to keep adding this on every HTML file across our project. To reuse this code, we will now create a file called base.html at the root of the templates folder. After creating the file, the templates folder should look like this. And let's move the first part of detail.html into base.html. This contains the div top bar. And before we save the file, let's add the following at the end of the file. This very different syntax is also part of Django Templates syntax. So now let's take a look at what the block content and end block really means. After moving out most of the contents of detail.html, it looks like this. It looks like a half-baked HTML file at the moment. To make it useful, we'll have to add the following. This tells Django to include all the contents of base.html inside this detail.html template. And we will also wrap our HTML content by the following blocks. This is exactly the same as found in the base.html file. So now you can see that the block here works as a placeholder in the Django template. Let's save both the files now and restart our server. Refreshing the page should not result in any change of the content. Let's now change the blog post view to use the Django templates as well. The first step is to change the base class from view to template view. We can also get rid of the import since the class view is no longer needed. Our next step should be to define the template name attribute. This time we'll set it to block/index.html. And let us replace response, which is a list of blog posts, with the following. Here, response is now a list of dictionaries. Each dictionary contains the ID, title, author of each post. We will also change the return statement to use the self.renderToResponse method and wrap the response object, which is a list, inside a dictionary under the key called posts. Now let's save this file and create a file called index.html under the block folder. The templates directory should look like this now. Similar to the detail view, we will start by extending the base.html. This brings in all the common HTML paths into the index.html file. And let us start and end the content block. Now the context contains all the posts under the key posts in the form of a list. So we will write the following in the index.html file. This will iterate through the list contained under the key posts. The brace and %sign at the start and end of the for p in post statement is part of the Django template syntax. This is little similar to Python but still has its own rules. Adding an end for tag is compulsory. And now let's add the following line, which would display the ID, title, and the author of each post. Let us wrap it around some HTML tags so that it looks nice. And now we save the file, start the server again, and visit the /posts URL in the browser. You can now see that our list of posts looks nice and consistent according to the detail view as well. And with that, we come to the end of this video. You can find out more about Django templates at the following URL. And in addition to that, you can also find out more about static files in Django. Static files are useful for serving custom CSS and JavaScript files as part of your project.